Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our board meeting tonight. Could we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amanda, will you call the roll?
Trustee Messick?
Here.
Trustee Rocco is absent. Trustee Sheehan?
Here.
Trustee Casera is absent. Trustee Lautner?
Here.
Trustee Zora?
Here.
President DeCipio?
Here.
Quorum is present, sir.
Thank you, Amanda. We have one presentation tonight, and it's something that not only the board and staff, but our village is extremely proud of. We continually try to strive and maintain excellence in our community. We have the staff, Julie and Emily, and all our department heads, and that continually strive to provide excellence and care to our community. And the award we're about to receive certainly signifies the hard work and the excellence that we're trying to achieve here. It's a certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting from the Governor Finance Officers Association. So who we have with us tonight? Ms. Rita Cruz, who's the financial manager for the city of Geneva. The Governor Finance Officers Association awarded LaGrange Park with a certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting for its fiscal year 2017 comprehensive annual financial report. This is the first time that the village has received this award. We are pleased to welcome Ms. Cruz, so if she would come up, and I'd also like to ask Larry Nolan, our financial director, to please come up too. And Ms. Cruz will present the award to the village.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm honored to be here today on behalf of the Government Finance Officers Association to present the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting to the Village of LaGrange Park. This is their first year which they received this award. The Certificate of Achievement program has been in operation since 1946. The purpose of this program is to encourage and assist governments to prepare financial reports in the highest quality for the benefit of the citizens and other parties while with a vital interest in the government's finances. The program has gained widespread recognition as a premier indicator of excellence in governmental accounting and financial reporting. To earn the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, the Village of LaGrange Park had to substantially conform to the program's demanding criteria, which go well beyond minimum requirements of generally accepted accounting principles. Program participants submit copies of their comprehensive annual financial report, or is another word, CAFR, to the Certificate of Achievement program for an in-depth review and evaluation. The review and evaluation is performed by 2 members selected from an impartial panel of government finance officers, independent certified public accountants, educators, and others with specialized expertise and experience in governmental accounting and financial reporting. Reports are also reviewed and evaluated by members of GFWA's professional staff. Only those who are judged by all reviewers to have substantially met the program's criteria are awarded their Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. The receipt of this award reflects the professionalism and commitment of numerous individuals as well as many hours of hard work. It also reflects a high degree of dedication and leadership on part of the village board. The Government Finance Officers Association hopes that this award to the Village of LaGrange Park will serve as an example and encourage others to strive for the same high standards in their own financial reports. Therefore, it is my privilege on behalf of the Government Finance Officers Association to present Larry Nolan the Certificate of Achievement in Excellence in Financial Reporting.
Thank you, Rita. I just want to say thank you to the staff of the finance department and all the village staff and all the other departments that have contributed to this document. And I also want to make the comment that this document is for the village, and it does reflect the high standards of the village board. I definitely applaud the board for supporting such a document. Thank you.
Again, I feel this is a great accomplishment, Larry, that you brought to our village along with staff in securing all the necessary requirements to achieve this award. And I would like to open it up to the board if anybody would care to make any comments regarding the work and the dedication that went into this report. Trustee Lautner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not sure I'm the first one to speak, but I am on the end, I guess. So, but I just can't tell you how proud I am to be part of an organization that has the quality of individuals that extend the amount of hard work and the quality work that gets done on behalf of this village and this organization. And I'll speak for myself because I know we'll all speak as a board, but I'll speak for myself. You know, thank you very much for all the hard work that goes into accomplishing something like this. I think it says an extreme amount of professionalism and integrity that's represented here, and very proud to be part of an organization that represents that. Thank you.
Trustee Messick.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I say this to Larry and all the staff. First I echo Trustee Lautner's comments, and secondly, especially in this state, in the fiscal insanity that ensues everywhere, that's why we do it here, and that's why we have the staff we have here, and I really commend you because it's hard. It's really hard given the challenges we have, and you continue and we continue with the fiscal sanity and excellence in reporting, and everything's open. Thank you very much.
Anyone else care to speak? Again, Mr. Nuller, thank you, and Julie and your staff. Okay, moving on, public participation of agenda-related items only, if anyone would care to address the board. Moving on, consent agenda, Amanda?
The items on this evening's consent agenda are as follows. A, approval of minutes, village board meeting, February 27th, 2018. Work session meeting, March 13th, 2018. B, action, sale of surplus vehicles and equipment. Motion approving an ordinance authorizing the sale of surplus property owned by the Village of LaGrange Park. C, action, occupational medical evaluations. Motion to approve the payment of $10,888 to Health Endeavors SC of Lombard, Illinois for the fiscal year's annual occupational health medical evaluations. D, action, portable radio grant match payment. Motion approving the payment of $16,223.55 to the Village of LaGrange for our village's 10% match portion of the 2016 Regional Assistance to Firefighters Grant for new portable radios. E, action, motion to authorize the president and chairperson of the Finance Committee to sign the register for bills and authorize the treasurer and village clerk to sign checks in the payment of operating bills and salaries as itemized in the check registers. And F, action, motion to authorize the village treasurer and village clerk to sign checks in the payment of payroll and other bills that become due between this date and April 24th, 2018, with subsequent approval of the payroll register and voucher register by the Board of Trustees at its regular meeting to be held on April 24th, 2018.
You have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Amanda, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Amanda. Village Manager's report, Julia?
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I have 3 items to report this evening, none of which are included in the board packet. The first item is that the Sustainability Committee of the board meeting that was scheduled for Monday on March 26th, it was canceled, and it has been rescheduled for this Thursday, March 29th at 7 p.m. here at Village Hall. That's the first item to report. The second item to report is that the Finance Committee meeting that was scheduled for earlier this evening at 6 p.m., which was also canceled, we plan to reschedule that meeting for April 10th before the public hearing that takes place on April 10th. And the public hearing for the village's upcoming fiscal year budget will take place at 7:15 p.m. on April 10th. The third item I wanted to remind the board about is for Friday, we have special hours here at Village Hall. The Village Hall will close at noon due to the upcoming holiday. And with that, that's all I have to report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Julia. Before we move on, I'd like to ask Trustee Lautner if he'd be willing to give the engineering capital projects report
Sure.
when it comes up.
Sure, absolutely.
And also Trustee Zor, commercial revitalization, if you wouldn't mind. Okay, moving on, Administration Committee, Trustee Lautner.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. This evening, I have a few items to report on, and then one item for discussion and motion. And from the administration area this evening, first item is regarding the new refuse pricing that becomes effective April 1st. And under the village's contract with Republic Services, the minimum monthly refuse charge that appears on our homeowners' water bills will increase from $5.81, will increase to $5.81 from $5.63. The cost for refuse and yard appears on the homeowners' bills, and the cost for the waste stickers will increase to $3.30 per sticker from currently $3.20. Both changes will be effective on April 1st, 2018 as well. For the residents that participate in the Twin Toter program, the increases will be as follows. The 65-gallon refuse tote will go from $12.85 to $13.27. The 95-gallon refuse toter will go from $15.06 to $15.54. And for the 65-gallon yard waste toters, that will increase from $22.50 to $23.10. And for the 95-gallon waste toter, that will increase from $24.95 to $25.25, and you'll see that on your next statement. Stickers may be purchased at Village Hall and local grocery and hardware stores, and to get started with the Twin Toter program, please contact Republic Services directly at 708-345-7050. Next item to report on is regarding the Community Volunteer Day that's upcoming. Our village is pleased to announce that it has scheduled the annual Community Volunteer Day for Saturday, May 5th from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. During the event, community volunteers provide assistance to our seniors in the community who need help with basic lawn care and spring cleanup chores. Village residents who are interested in volunteering are encouraged to get involved with this worthwhile project. Residents in need of assistance are encouraged to contact the village directly. To volunteer or to request assistance, please call the Village Hall at 708-354-0225 or email Sandy McColledge directly at lagrangepark.org. And the third item to report on is regarding our upcoming Arbor Day nominations that we're calling for. National Arbor Day is set for Friday, April 27th. The village is accepting nominations to plant a tree in honor or in memory of a person or group that has made a positive contribution to the community or whose achievements deserve special recognition. The tree will be planted in a public space, for example, in a park or a parkway, during a public ceremony in late April or early May. And a small plaque mentioning the honoree will be installed at the base of the tree. It's a great event. To submit a nomination, please send your nomination to Arbor Day Tree Planting, LaGrange Park Village Hall, 447 North Catherine Avenue, LaGrange Park, Illinois, of course, 60526, to the attention of Sandy McColledge at email, sandybccollege@lagrangepark.org, and that needs to be sent no later than April 13th of this year, of course. Please explain on that document why the person or group you are nominating deserves to be recognized and indicate what kind of tree you feel would most appropriately honor their achievements. After reviewing all the nominations, the village will select one from among all nominations received to honor with a public tree planting. The tree will be planted in a public space, as mentioned, during a public ceremony. And I think basically any questions regarding the Arbor Day celebration may be directed to Village Hall at our main number here, the 708-354-0225 number. And the next item for discussion and potential action is regarding amendments to our liquor regulations, Class C, D, and hours of sale. A little bit of background is that the village has received several requests from our local businesses to amend our liquor regulations. One of the first places that we've received requests is from Cork Keg and Spirits, our liquor store. Cork Keg and Spirits, that's located at 1000 East 31st Street, is a liquor store currently operating under a Class C liquor license, which is the sale of alcoholic liquor in the package, not for consumption on the premises. They would like to expand their business model to include the consumption of select packaged beer and wine on premise during certain hours, as stated below in our board packet. And that was stated as Monday through Thursday from 3 p.m. until 9 p.m., Friday and Saturday from 11 a.m. until 9 p.m., and on Sundays from 11 a.m. until 7 p.m. This request requires an amendment to our Class C liquor license regulation in order to allow for consumption of packaged beer and wine on premise. And a diagram was provided to us in the board packet that described the location and the size of that area. The second area, our second organization that we have received a request for consideration of amending our hours is from Posto 31, which is a restaurant currently under construction at 1017 East 31st Street. This will be a full-service restaurant seating 80 people indoors with seasonal outdoor dining. They intend to operate under a Class D liquor license, which is the retail sale of alcoholic liquor for consumption on premises. However, our current Class D licenses are only available to full-service restaurants that seat a minimum of 125 people. In our code section 112.19, paragraph D of the village code needs to be amended in order to reduce the minimum seating requirements from 125 to 80. And that also was provided in our board packet. And the third community retailer, village retailer that's requested consideration of hourly changes is from Jewel Osco. Jewel Osco currently operates under a Class D liquor license, which is the sale of alcoholic liquor in the package, not for consumption on premises. The village recently received a written request from Jewel to expend her hours of sale for packaged liquor. The village's current regulations are outlined in section 112.35, which differentiates sale hours based on the type of alcohol sold, beer and wine, which may be sold later than hard liquor. Staff is proposing to amend the hours of liquor sales, and information has been provided in our packet, as well as a recent survey of area competitors. Staff recommendation has conferred with the managers of each of these businesses that are making the requests. It conferred with the police chief and the village attorney regarding the proposed amendments. And the staff is recommending that the village board consider and approve the attached ordinance amendments to the village's liquor regulations. This item is for discussion this evening, but the motion that would be that I would submit would be a motion to approve an ordinance amending Chapter 112 of Title 11 of the LaGrange Park Municipal Code regulating liquor sales and licenses.
This is on for an action item.
This is on, so that is the motion.
Okay.
The
do I have
motion
a-
was made. Right?
Thank you, trustee.
Yeah.
A motion and a second discussion. Trustee Lautner?
Thank you, Mr. President. Staff has done a significant amount of work in gathering, in addition to the requests from these locations, of course, as well as what are competing communities around us, and what are the hours of liquor availability in those situations. And there was an initial proposal that we consider extending the hours, different days, different holidays, et cetera, to different times. As this information was provided to us, I personally found it somewhat confusing in terms of, okay, well, is it Monday or is it Thursday, or is it a holiday, or is it at the eve of a holiday, or is it, and it came to the conclusion that it seems to me that we need to talk about a more consistent and easier to understand and easier to administer set of regulations for time. Not only is it confusing to the retailers and the consumers, residents that are shopping in these locations. I think it's also confusing to everyone that goes in to try to purchase, their weekly groceries or whatever. And I think we all know that there's a significant amount of changes going on in shopping hours and when can people shop and the dynamics of different family sizes and availability of where people work, et cetera, that I think are leading to it being appropriate to consider what can we do to make it easier. I think we all agree that as a community, as a village, we've made the decision a long time ago, do we sell alcohol or not in these locations? And obviously we do. So I think the next step of that is making it convenient and consistent as a policy to be considered, as well as easy and clear as to when can consumers make these purchases in these stores. So looking at a lot of the competitive times and competitive information that our staff has pulled together, generally, I think that alcohol is available in surrounding communities, as early as 7, 8 o'clock in the morning and as late as 1 o'clock in the following morning. And I think to be competitive and to be clear and concise and consistent, I think that we need to, as an organization, as a board, as a staff, need to discuss the potential for adding some clarity to the availability of that item in our stores.
Trustee Sheehan?
Thank you, Mr. President. When staff provided the hours and the rules as they are currently written is pretty much as clear as mud, and I reached out to Julia and Emily, and thank you for answering the questions in great detail. And Julia, thanks for today with the phone conversation. What I don't want to see happen is us to lose sales tax revenue. That people, Julia and I had a hypothetical situation. Somebody comes into our Jewel 8:30, loads up their shopping cart, has their day planned out. The clerk says we can't sell alcohol until after 9. Leaves the cart, goes to another store, finds Mariano's to their liking, maybe they don't come back. The way online shopping is, we want to keep the people, we want to keep the sales tax in line, keep the tax revenue flowing to the village. So when I looked at the list, I see Westchester pretty much streamlined straight across for liquor sales. Packaged goods, 5 a.m. till 1 a.m. They have a Jewel. Countryside has a Jewel, 7 a.m. till 2 a.m., pretty much straight across. I think our Jewel, Julia, you said opens at 6. I would think maybe a 7 a.m. till 1 a.m. or 12:15 would be good. I don't see any problems with the bar or restaurant hours currently at 10 to 12:15, except with the New Year's Eve till 2 a.m. So that's my standing, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Sheehan. Trustee Messick?
Thank you, Mr. President. I concur with my fellow trustees, and I just, one thing too, it would be the Class D, which overall it looks pretty good as far as the sale hours, but on Sunday, and I know Jason had mentioned with Posto 31 that they might be doing brunches, and maybe Matone wants to get in that, so we might want to look at a little earlier hours, because we're talking noon, and we're the only community listed here that would start at noon, so maybe 10 or 9 if they're going to do brunches. And maybe we can put a caveat for brunches. If brunch, I think one of the villages says if brunch. Yeah, LaGrange, if there's a brunch, they have an earlier start. I just think that would be a good addition. That is all. Thank you.
Trustee Zora?
Thank you, Mr. President, and thanks to staff, because this is a lot of work putting together everybody's hours. I do agree with Trustee Messick and Trustee Sheehan about both of their comments, maybe possibly being earlier for Jewel during the week, selling liquor, and then brunch on Sundays. That makes sense to me. That's all I have. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Trustee Zora.
Oh, that's okay. I'm done.
Any other comments to go back?
No, just that, I know that there's a motion to make amendments to those provisions, and I know we need to come to a recommendation to staff as to what would be a consistent timing, and I personally would be comfortable with leaving it to the current store hours of 6 to 1. And I think to Trustee Sheehan's earlier comment, the situation of individuals being in the store, going to do their weekly shopping, and then getting to the checkout, or requiring the store to have to put up gates and fences and then, getting into all that business. I think when the store's open with the current hours, if it became a 24-hour store, then maybe that would require some additional discussion. But, I think in our community, people are here to purchase their goods and serve their goods. They're not here for the purpose of buying whatever they want in the area of alcohol, take it out to the parking lot and imbibe as they would. So I think consistent with store hours is a comfortable time frame if the store opens at 6 and it's 6 a.m. to a 1 a.m. availability. And I'm in this day and age, I think I am more comfortable with setting it to that consistent time frame rather than trying to get into managing, well, this one's at 7 and that's one at 9 and having different times for different retailers.
Okay, so I guess I'm hearing that we need some more work here. And I agree with but I think we need, as you said, consistency across the board. So it's easy to look at, and it's easily to decipher what our goal here is and what we want to open and close. So we have a motion on the floor. So why don't we vote on that, and then we can direct staff in a different direction if we'd like. Amanda, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
I'm not sure everybody understands what we're doing here.
I thought we're just voting to
We're
amend
voting on
it.
the motion that Trustee Lautner presented,
The original motion.
the original motion.
Oh,
Now,
no.
6 a.m. to 2
So
p.m.
we're
Right, we
We have
need,
to do
because that's on the
something
table.
We can't modify the hours. I mean, if there's agreement to certain sections, we can't modify the schedule and still approve
I thought,
the ordinance.
Well, there's a couple of things going on here. First of all, the ordinance covers more than just the Class D license. It covers the restaurant hours as well. So maybe we should, you could either withdraw your motion and we could start anew, or we could vote on the motion that's on the table, but that's a kind of a compound motion at this point that you might want to approve parts of and not other parts. Or you can, someone can amend the motion and we can vote on the amendment.
As a point of clarification, my motion was to approve an ordinance amending Chapter 112 of Title 11 of the Grange Park Municipal Code regulating liquor sales and licenses. So, that to me is the motion to amend the ordinance. And then it seems to me, in point of order, can we direct staff to set the hours, with that we're talking about here? I mean, this is just to amend it. It doesn't.
No, because
Okay.
the amendment is,
The
it
new
does a couple of things. The first paragraph is it amends 11219D
Right.
for to lower the number of people who have to be seated for dining. Then it changes the hours of sale, both for consumption on premises, not for consumption on premises.
So we need 3 more.
So it was all one ordinance, see?
Oh, so it was, okay. So how do we break it down into 3 amendments then? Or do we direct staff to go back and fill in the changes for
Changes are minor.
clarification for the next meeting?
Right, I think if we vote on this motion and then start fresh and decide what we want staff to do and maybe clarify it so that we're all on the same page and not bantering back and forth, well, 6 here, 7 there, 11 here, 1 there.
Okay.
Just for clarity, since that's what we want.
And then maybe we can have alternatives, alternative ordinances. But I think the appropriate thing to do, if this ordinance as it's currently drafted is not acceptable, you need to have a vote on it as a compound ordinance, combined ordinance.
Okay.
So the motion on the floor is your original motion as presented. So we'll take a vote on that. So
Okay.
we'll start again, if everybody understands what we're doing. Okay, Amanda, call the roll for the
Trust-
original motion as presented by trustee Lautner.
Trustee Messick?
No.
Trustee Sheehan?
No.
Trustee Lautner?
No.
Trustee Zura?
No.
Motion fails.
Okay, now I'll throw it back to you, trustee Lautner.
Okay. So, come forth with a new motion
Or direction.
or direction to the staff to, I'll say, do some additional work that puts together the recommended changes per our discussion here that makes the hours consistent. And I think we talked about consistent hours from like 7 to 1 and lowering the number of people for the Class D to 80. And I think that was the changes.
Well, you had a change to the restaurant.
And in the restaurant, that's right, the earlier availability of on-premise consumption.
And I think you said with respect to the package sales, you wanted to match the current hours of Jewel, 6 to 1, not 7 to 1.
Of 6 to 1, right.
See, and I think that's where the confusion, the first two are the first and third were in total agreement about the number of people required and then the hours for the restaurant. I think where the confusion is, and we can banter back and forth as long as you want about this, but getting the set hours so they're consistent and easy to understand.
That's the key thing, is consistency in the hours.
Okay, Emily, Julia? So, I mean, is it too late to bring this back to get this out, information out, and then bring it back next meeting, or is that too late?
Oh, we would turn it around. You want 6 to 1 is the hours?
All we want to clarify and to stabilize the hours of operation for liquor stores.
Consistency, match the hours of operation.
Right, the other two are very, we're all in agreement, I assume.
No, I
that-
think he wanted, some people wanted the restaurant hours earlier.
Right, I think that,
Earlier than what they are,
Just on Sunday, really.
and stating that at 9 a.m. availability at the restaurant.
For brunch.
okay, so I guess the first one is the only one we're really in total agreement here. So if we can go back and look at those two discussion points and come back with some clarity to the board. And please provide input to staff in the next week so that we get this done.
Yeah, we pretty much.
Staff can update the chart that was included in
Okay.
here. It seems like the discussion centers on the hours of sales, and so staff will update that chart and make sure that it is aligned with all of the comments that the board provided to us tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, good? Okay,
And that's all, Mr. President.
thank you, trustee Lautner. Well done.
Too complicated, right?
It wasn't a motion, it was a direction.
Yeah.
Okay, Building and Zoning Committee, trustee Zora?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to report the building activities for February of 2018. There were 33 building permits issued in February compared to 48 last year. We've issued 62 through the end of the past February compared to 69 the end of last February. Estimated construction costs for the month were up about $29,000 more compared to February 2017. Permit fees collected this February were slightly more than last, about $700. 64 inspections were conducted this February compared to 100 last February. 8 were not approved. The permitting issue for the kitchen remodeling at St. Louis de Marillac was resolved with the permit being issued. The project was completed and passed all inspections. Plans were provided and resubmitted for the remodeling of all laundry rooms in the buildings at the Homestead Apartments. The plans were approved. Additional projects will most likely take place in the coming months. Work continued throughout the property at the CSJ monopole cell tower located in the rear of CSJ and Nazareth properties. The home at 515 Catherine was demolished to make room for a new home to be constructed in the coming months. And I also have an item that's up for discussion and action. Each year, Jewel Osco erects a seasonal greenhouse in their parking lot. Jewel's requesting to install a 1,560 square foot greenhouse to house their seasonal flower and shrub sales. If approved, the structure will be constructed in April, remain in use through early July. The proposed structure is the same size as what it has been allowed the past several years. This type of structure is regulated by Section 12.6 of the zoning code, which addresses temporary uses and structures. More specifically, Section 12.6.C.10 regulates temporary retail stands and specifically allows for them in commercial zoning districts, but limits their size to 250 square feet. Section 12.6.A.3 also requires village board approval for those temporary uses not specifically listed. Staff recommends approving the temporary use permit for Jewel Osco to permit the installation of a temporary greenhouse structure. I'd like to make a motion to approve a temporary use permit for Jewel Osco located at 507 East Woodlawn to allow for construction of a 1,560 square foot temporary structure for seasonal retail sales to be occupied on or after April 1st, 2018, and to be removed no later than July 15th, 2018.
Second. A motion and a second. Discussion. Trustee Zora?
We do this every year for Jewel Osco. I have no reason why we should not approve this.
Any other comments? Seeing none, Amanda, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes,
Motion passes unanimously.
and that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Zora. Engineering Capital Projects, Trustee Lautner.
Thank you, Mr. President. From this area this evening, I have 3 items to report on. First of all is on February 6th, the village publicly opened sealed bids for the construction work on the 2018 street paving program. 13 firms submitted bids, and the low responsible bidder was K5 Construction. At the February 20th Village Board meeting, a contract was awarded to K5 Construction in the amount of $2,092,215.50. Work on the project will begin in May, and all construction activities are expected to be completed by late fall. Second item is the village also publicly opened sealed bids on February 6th for the 2017 sewer repair project. During the February 20th Village Board meeting, a contract was awarded to the low responsible bidder, Suburban General Construction Company. This contract is for repair work previously identified in advance of the 2018 street paving program. All work will be completed prior to the start of the street program. And the third final item is the final design of the Homestead Road, Sherwood Avenue improvements, Grange Road to Harding Avenue, have been submitted to the Illinois Department of Transportation, IDOT. We anticipate a June project letting by IDOT with work beginning in early September. All construction activity on this project is expected to be completed by late fall. And that's the last item that I had to report from this area this evening, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee Lautner. Public Safety, Trustee Messick.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public Safety, we'll start with the Police Department summary of activities for February 2018. Total crimes reported for the first 2 months of 2018 are similar to last year, with 35 reported this year compared to 37 last. Overall police activity is slightly higher, with 1,006 incidents reported through February of this year compared to 989 for the same time frame last year. Total tickets issued for the month of February are slightly lower, with 886. This is compared to 1,012 through February of 2017. Please note, as a reminder, during the month of April 2018, the Police Department will be completing a village-wide check on vehicle stickers which have not been purchased for the present fiscal year. During this check, please be aware police officers may enter your personal property to effectuate this enforcement. We recommend that all residents purchase your vehicle sticker in a timely manner. Police Department Special Events. Sergeant Felix Hernandez coordinated the 8th Annual Adopt a Cop Skate Party, which was held at the Darien Sportsplex on Saturday, March 24th. A fun time was had by all. In addition, Deputy Chief John Strezzo coordinated the second Spark Plug program offered this school year, which was held at Park Junior High School, and in addition, recently started a mentoring program also at Park Junior High with Commander Tim Contoy and Detective Tim Griffin. PCA Coordinate Officer Chris Dempsey is putting together the 3rd Annual Police Citizens Academy, which is presently taking registration. Spots are limited. The PCA will be held on Thursdays at Village Hall, April 12th through May 10th from 6:30 to 8:30. Do not miss out on this great community-based program, and having gone through it, I would say take advantage of it. You will learn a lot about what your police department does for you and the coordination of all the various committees. That completes the fire department report. Now on to the the police department, now on to the fire. EMS incidents this month were 128. There have been 266 year-to-date compared to 297 in 2017. Fire rescue incidents this month were 36. There have been 70 year-to-date compared to 80 in the time frame last year. Additional staffing was placed in both stations overnight on February 8th and during the day on the 9th due to the winter storm warning that was issued. This is done as such weather can severely hamper our paid-on-call firefighters' ability to respond to the stations in a timely manner. Most of our personnel participate in annual physicals this month as part of our occupational medical program. On February 15th, staff from fire and police participated in the now annual Mighty Patriots Heroes versus Heroes basketball game at Park Junior High. The Mighty Patriots are the Special Olympics team made up of 7th and 8th graders with special needs. Fire training during the month included on-site pre-incident familiarization walkthroughs of both Brook Park School and Chase products. Personnel were able to refamiliarize themselves with the layout of the buildings and location of fire protection systems and utilities. For the school, this is particularly important due to the upcoming construction project they have planned. For Chase, this is important due to the types of hazards that the contents present to firefighters. On February 22nd, 23rd, 4 personnel went to Pierce and conducted final inspections of our new Quint aerial ladder truck. And on February 26th, we coordinated an emergency preparedness tabletop simulated exercise. Participants included the village president and board, all department managers, various other staff, and a representative from LTAC. The simulation involved a large fire and hazardous materials leak requiring evacuation of a section of the village. And that concludes the fire department report. There are no action items.
Thank you, Trustee Messick. Public Works Committee, Trustee Sheehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. The monthly report for February is as follows. Public Works operations, snow operations continued and led into an extremely busy February with crews salting and plowing all village streets, alleys, and parking areas. 194 hours of regular time and 289 and a half hours of overtime were spent plowing and salting. 1,190.3 miles of town were salted and plowed, using about 345 tons of salt. Tree maintenance, trimming, and inspection was performed during 8 regular hours. 157 regular hours were spent on the maintenance of public works equipment and vehicles. 130 hours were spent filling potholes and patching water excavations with approximately 13.5 tons of asphalt. The street sweeper made its 2018 debut, spending 32 daytime hours taking care of 63 miles of village roadways. Were swept, collecting 28 yards of debris. 127.5 day shift hours were spent on building and ground maintenance around Public Works, Facility, Village Hall, and along 31st Street. Various work orders were completed with crews removing roadkill, making sign repairs, and attending to residents' concerns. Water Department, over 394 day shift hours and 144.3 overtime hours during the month of February were spent on maintenance and repair of sewer and water mains. 27,560,000 gallons of water were purchased from the Brookfield North Riverside Water Commission. 1,474 water meters were read in Section 2. 53 monthly accounts and 20 final meter readings were taken. Various inspections, appointments, and service calls were performed. 3 water sewer inspection, 38 meter appointments, and 15 service calls were performed. 15 bacterial samples were taken. 68 utility locations were identified prior to excavations. 2 water mains were repaired and 2 valve boxes were repaired. I have one action item, Mr. President, in regard to our 1-ton truck body chassis. This is to inform the village board. General background, the village board authorized the purchase of a 1-ton chassis from Kaufman Trucks at our January meeting. The village contracted with Bonnell Industries to build out the truck. When the chassis was received at Bonnell, it was discovered that the wheelbase of the chassis is too long to fit the 8-foot bed that the village had spec'd out. A chassis with 60-inch cab to axle length should have been ordered. The standard cab to axle length is 84 inches. The parts for the build-out were already ordered, so they would be available to build on the chassis when it came in. At this point, the village could keep the longer chassis and order a 9-foot bed and install a 2-foot toolbox behind the cab. An 11-foot bed would not be recommended, as the size would have potential to hold more material than the chassis is designed to hold. The cost to change to a 9-foot bed and a toolbox would increase the Bonnell order by $2,400. The owner of Bonnell Industries indicated that they would be willing to allow us to change the chassis so the village gets what we originally wanted, a shorter truck that could be used for plowing dead ends and alleys, etc. The shorter wheelbase is beneficial in those areas. Bonnell has offered to purchase the original chassis from us and build it out for another buyer. In that case, they would not have to charge us for the 8-foot bed that they had already ordered for us. Staff had contacted Kaufman GMC, and they provided a quote to purchase the correct chassis. The new chassis will be the 2019 model, which is $499 higher than the 2018 model. We will have Bonnell eliminate the painting of the dump body, valued at $885, and stick with the stainless steel finish in order to recapture the cost. The difference of making these changes should be a net savings to the village of $386. Staff's recommendation at tonight's meeting, approving the correct chassis for the shorter cab to chassis length to be ordered from Kaufman GMC at a cost of $39,000 plus $105 for title and registration, and authorize the sale of the incorrect chassis to Bonnell Industries at our purchase price of $38,501. Therefore, Mr. President, I make a motion to authorize staff to order the correct chassis with the shorter cab to chassis length from Kaufman GMC at a cost of $39,000 plus $105 for registration and title, and authorize the sale of the incorrect chassis to Bonnell Industries at our purchase price of $38,501.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Trustee Sheehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. In speaking with Director McLaughlin and Gary Moore, who's here tonight, they have that kind of relationship that things like this do come up. It's a net no foul, no harm to the village. There's no reason why we shouldn't pass this tonight.
Any other comments from the board? Amanda, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. President, that concludes Public Works. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Sheehan. Finance Committee, Trustee Messick.
Thank you, Mr. President. The fiscal year 2018 financial update as of February 28th, 2018. Fiscal year to date, general fund revenue is above expectations at 78% of the annual budget and $106,000 over last year, primarily due to earlier receipts of 2017 property taxes. The federal tax reforms prompted a one-time prepayment of property taxes in late 2017. Sales tax is up 1.6% this year, while telecommunication taxes are down by over 9%. Permit revenue is about 21% below last year, but at 104% of budget. Intergovernmental revenue is down about 1%, primarily due to lower income tax receipts as a result of the reductions included in the state budget. Charges for services are up 6% due to the increased ambulance fee collections. Fine revenue is about 16% lower than last year and at 75% of budget. Outstanding tickets have recently been sent to the state's debt recovery program, which should result in increased receipts later in the year. Miscellaneous revenue is up about 29% due primarily to an increase in the payment in lieu of taxes. Interest and tower lease revenues have also increased. Total general fund expenditures are within expectations at 74% of the annual budget and about $207,000 above last year. The increase is primarily due to the new LTAC and annual contribution, which is paid on a quarterly basis beginning in May from the police and fire budgets, and increased fire personnel costs. And that concludes the finance report. There is no action item.
Thank you, Trustee Messick. Commercial Revitalization Committee, Trustee Zara.
Thank you, Mr. President. Crown Trophy, previously located in Westchester, opened its doors at its new location on 31st Street in LaGrange Park on Monday, March 19th. The village is excited about the new addition to the community and encourages residents to take a look at their new space. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Zora. Okay, we're going to, I'm going to ask for a special privilege here. Going back to the Administration Committee's report with the liquor regulations, I'm going to turn it over to Kathy because there's a situation with the restaurant, Jason, that we would maybe like to consider voting on tonight to allow Jason to proceed with obtaining the liquor license, which could be a time factor for him. So I'm going to turn it over to Kathy so we can proceed with that if the board is okay.
Okay, if we go back to ordinance number 1080, the ordinance, as we discussed before, that was voted down, has several sections to it. The first section, Section 1, changes the requirements for Class C licenses to allow a portion of floor space to be devoted to on-premises consumption. This is pursuant to the request of Cork Kagan Spirits. Then Section 2 of this ordinance amends Class D license regulations to allow a Class D license for a restaurant that serves not less than 80 persons. Prior to that, it was, I think, 120 persons. Staff has asked if the board would like to reconsider passing Sections 1 and 2 and there are 2 Section 3s in the draft ordinance. That's why I'm coming up against a dead end. The first Section 3 is the hours that we've asked staff to reconsider. The second Section 3 is the form language in the ordinance, which repeals conflicting provisions. Section 4 says the ordinance is in full force and effect after its passage. What I suggest we do, and I know this is confusing, but if the board is inclined to pass all but the first Section 3 of this ordinance, I would ask for a motion to reconsider the previous denial of this ordinance, and then a motion, we have to vote on the motion to reconsider, and then somebody can make a motion to pass ordinance 1080 without Section 3, which amends the hours of sale in Section 112.35.
Okay. That's fine.
So I'll entertain a motion to reconsider.
Submit a motion to reconsider the previously denied motion regarding amendment of hours of liquor availability. No?
No.
Okay.
I think we're pertaining to Section 1 and 2,
1 and 2 only?
1, 2, and the first 3.
and the first 3 of Section 3.
No.
No,
one
second.
No.
The second.
The second.
Okay, if everybody flips to the page that has the ordinance, there are 2 Section 3s, so it's confusing.
Right.
We need a motion to reconsider the denial of ordinance number 1080 and a motion to approve all portions of that ordinance except the hours of operation, which is the first Section 3 in that ordinance.
Okay, so a motion first to reconsider
If somebody wants to just say
1080.
so moved, we can do it that way.
All right.
So So
Trustee
moved.
Lautner, second.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none?
No.
Band to call the roll?
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes?
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Motion passes.
That was smooth.
And now a
And
motion.
then a motion to approve all provisions of
Ordinance 1080,
ordinance 1080, section,
except
except for,
the first section 3, regulating hours of operation.
except for the first section 3, regulating the hours.
Second.
Correct.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Amanda, call the roll?
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
So what we've just done then is allowed to proceed with any liquor license that may be required out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Great job, Trustee Larner. Thank you, Kathy. Okay, moving on, then we have other reports, Village Clerk.
I only have one item to report in regards to the March 20th elections. With our 10 proviso precincts, our voter turnout for the March 20th elections was at 26.4%, and that's all I have to report.
I have a comment. I think it'd be imperative if we could do everything possible to bring the polling place back to LaGrange Park and not have to go to Brookfield.
Yes. Many complaints.
We were not notified until the last.
No, but I mean in
Yes.
future elections,
We are
if we can
working
make
on
sure
it.
that we do that.
It became a issue, and
Great.
staff is working
And
on
you
it.
directed us wisely, believe me. We were all calling Amanda to find out where we vote.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amanda. Village Treasurer,
No reports, Mr. President.
Village Engineer,
No reports, Mr. President.
our Village Attorney.
No report, Mr. President.
Motion to approve committee collectors' reports as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I have two items on my agenda. The first one is a discussion and action. Okay, so the first is the purpose to affirm rescindment of a redevelopment agreement for the redevelopment of 1015, 1017 East 31st Street. Everybody has read the memo. I'm looking for two motions, which I cannot make, but one to reaffirm or affirm the rescission of the redevelopment agreement, and the second is to authorize and direct staff and village attorney and special counsel to draft an updated redevelopment agreement.
And these should be two separate motions.
Two separate
as they're written.
motions. So if anyone would care to make the first motion,
Mr. President, I'll make the first motion. Motion to affirm the recession of the redevelopment agreement and withdraw the village incentive offer by repealing ordinance number 1068, an ordinance of the Village of LaGrange Park, Cook County, Illinois, approving a redevelopment agreement for the redevelopment of 1015 and 1017 East 31st Street.
Second.
motion is second, any discussion? Again, I think that the purpose is to get back on the same page and to avoid any confusion or communication situations where we can move forward and get this going in the right direction. So if there's no other comments, Amanda, will you call the roll?
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes.
Trustee Zora?
I have to recuse myself.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Trustee Sheehan. And the second motion?
To authorize and direct staff, the village attorney, and/or special counsel to draft an updated redevelopment agreement, which includes a deadline for signature only after all final building plans have been approved, and a deadline for expiration of the agreement if it is not signed by date certain to be selected by the Board of Trustees.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. I guess at this time, we would entertain a date to be selected, or would that be done at a further meeting?
My assumption was that the staff would recommend a date after discussions with the developer here. One of the dates that has become stale in the current agreement is the date by which the developer was going to use his best efforts to open his restaurant, which was March 15th. So the date for signing of the agreement really has to dovetail with the date of building plan submittal, building plan approval, completion of construction, and opening of
Okay.
the restaurant. So I think we have to leave that a little bit fluid right now.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Amanda, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes?
Motion passes.
Okay, I have one other item.
Make this announcement, too.
Okay, another announcement. The fire department is hiring paid-on-call firefighters. Additional information about the requirements and the hiring process is available on the village's website, along with the application. Applicants need to complete the application and bring it with them to a mandatory orientation session on April 11th at 7 p.m. here at our village hall in the lower-level community room. And then I have one, where is it? Just bear with me one second here. One proclamation. Whereas excessive drinking is responsible for more than 4,300 deaths among underage youth each year. Whereas alcohol is the most commonly used addictive substance in the United States. Whereas more than 1.6 million young people report driving under the influence of alcohol in the past year. Whereas young people who begin drinking before age 15 are 4 times more likely to develop alcohol dependence than those who begin drinking at age 21. Whereas drinking by persons under the age of 21 is linked to 189,000 emergency room visits, whereas the typical American will see 100,000 beer commercials before he or she turns 18, whereas kids who drink are more likely to be victims of violent crime, to be involved in alcohol-related traffic crashes, and to have serious school-related problems, whereas the supportive family environment is associated with lower rates of alcohol use for adolescents, whereas kids who have conversations with their parents and learn a lot about the dangers of alcohol and drug use are 50% less likely to use alcohol and drugs than those who don't have those conversations. Therefore, we now join the National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence and hereby proclaim that April 2018 is Alcohol Awareness Month in the village of LaGrange Park. That is all that I have. Moving on, we have public participation of non-agenda related items. If anyone would care to address the board of non-agenda related items, please step up to the mic and give us your name and address, please.
My name is Nina Kowalik. I live at 700 North LaGrange Road, where I've lived for 60 years. I'm going to read from my notes so I don't over-talk. Okay. I'm here to voice my objection to the village's application for a zoning map amendment that would invite increased density on LaGrange Road in contradiction to the village's comprehensive plan. I'm particularly concerned, and I find this concerning because 3 out of 7 of the land use action plans in the comprehensive plan, the very first 3, recommend the exact opposite. And they were implemented in the rewrite of the zoning code. Now the suggestion is to reverse course on the expressed collective will of the residents out of economic concern for special interests. I think this would set a very, very bad precedent. I did a good deal of research over the last 10 days. Resources that were available to me included the Cook County Assessor's records online, an analysis that I did of the single-family versus two-family representation on the Grange Road. I spoke with a couple realtors and a mortgage banker, and I went through the representation and justifications provided in the village's application. Based on my own research and analysis, I'm not satisfied that a zoning map amendment is warranted and that the math, 50%, is not reconcilable, and the difference is significant. In my own analysis, it showed 2/3 of the houses based on the Cook County Assessor's records were single-family houses. Now, I recognize that they're imperfect, but I'd like to see a reconciliation of it in any case. The basic premise that greater than 50% of the subject properties are two-family dwellings appears mathematically incorrect. This premise, however, is used as the justification in 5 major sections of the application. Additionally, I don't understand why the village is the applicant when we do have a process for residents to apply directly to the Planning and Zoning Commission. And I don't understand why an atomic bomb approach like a zoning map amendment is being pursued when a very narrow and specific pea-shooter type zoning text amendment would meet the special needs of non-conforming property owners, not only on the Grange Road, but equally throughout the village, because there are some other non-conforming properties scattered throughout our village. I'm here today to ask the board, after reviewing the text and new data that I emailed out last night, and anyone who does not have it, I have a copy. It's a 7-page memo I'd like to give the secretary as well. I'd like to ask that you consider withdrawing the application for a zoning map amendment and either A, refer and support residents in an effort for them to apply to the Planning and Zoning Commission directly, or B, ask our village attorney to draft a narrow and specific zoning text amendment to address the non-conforming property owner's special exemption needs in cases of greater than 50% damage to the property.
Thank you, Ms. Kowalik. Julia and Emily have all that information. You've given everybody the,
Julia does.
okay.
Could you give that to Amanda as well?
Oh, certainly.
I have it.
Okay, any new business?
No.
What? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Go ahead.
My name is Brad Spalding. I own the building at 714 and 716 North LaGrange Road. I do believe that we need to take the atomic bomb approach and re-amend all the zoning for all the properties, just as it was done back in 2010, or 2011. I bought the property in 2010. 2011, the zoning change happened. I was never notified. I think, as I explained to a committee a month ago, my property is held in a trust. They get every piece of notification mail, and then they forward it to me. They keep a record of it. I never received anything. I've gone back to them, asked them for the records. They said they never received it. So I don't know how legal that last zoning change was for us. For us to try and sell our properties now can't be done. Nobody will buy it. There's a letter that needs to happen that the lenders and title companies want to see that the village just will not issue because of the zoning that's currently in place. So I feel that we should continue, I think it's next month, and have another hearing and let more people come and speak their piece.
Thank you, Brad. Anyone else care to address the board? Okay, moving on, any new business? Motion to move into executive session?
Make a motion to move into executive session for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining in accordance with 5 ILCS 120/2 C2, not to return to open session until our next regularly scheduled meeting on April 10th at 7:15 p.m.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Amanda, call the roll.
Trustee Messick?
Yes.
Trustee Sheehan?
Yes.
Trustee Lautner?
Yes?
Trustee Zura?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
We'll move into executive session.